Grab your favors from the excrement pile to get ready for this week's
Initial codes. Part 1. The initial codes. Part 1. The initial codes.
Welcome back, Trekkies. It's been more than 6 months since our last new episode of Trek, and nearly 2 years since we were on the last Strange New Worlds cliffhanger. So, please join me for the first episode of Season 3, Hegemony Part 2. My first and one of very few likes comes at the very start of the episode, with Anson Mount doing the classic Majel Barrett start to a Part 2, and now the conclusion. I think it might have been a little more fitting to have Jess Bush do it, having taken over a Majel Barrett role, but regardless, it was a great way to ease us into the longest cliffhanger we've ever been left on in Trek history. Unfortunately, it's pretty much all downhill for this episode for me, as we jump quite far into the episode for the first dislike. This one isn't exclusive to this episode of Strange New Worlds, but if the ship is so battle damaged that lighting can't do anything but flicker, how can you make a solid medical quarantine force field under those conditions? I could also ask, why aren't they putting Batel on a shuttle to do these experimental procedures with little chance of success, like in Unnatural Selection? I'm going to give an overall like for Scotty. Despite seeming a little too young for the role, Martin Quinn perfectly acts the part of Scotty. I buy him on every level. I'm going to use this entry as a place to talk about a problem I have in the episode with Scotty. While he brings up the fact that Pelia is not technically his commanding officer, when they are both called to the bridge to come up with some crazy technobabble to make the ship turn into an artificial star, I felt like Scotty went outside of the chain of command by answering Pike first. As brought up in Voyager's second episode, the chief engineer, or designee, should be the first one to answer the captain, even if the answer is, I don't have a solution. Scotty, do you have any more miracles to work today? Not enough for a dislike, but it felt off to me. It was also weird that just a few scenes away from Scotty walking out on Pelia and seemingly being done with her shit, that they show up on the bridge together. It feels like there's a missing scene where they make up. I do actually have a like for turning the Enterprise into an artificial star to force the Gorn into hibernation. This was a great use of the ensemble cast, with Uhura and Una figuring out the patterns of Gorn aggression, and Scotty and Pelia coming up with a way to do a 1,000-to-1 plan that should destroy the Enterprise. More than that, it's just a cool effect. This, however, spawns not one, but 2 dislikes. The first being for suddenly being able to get a comm signal through the radiation of sitting between 2 stars after making the point that they can't get a signal through. This one's pretty minor compared to the compounding amount of technobabble and suspension of disbelief that you have to believe for the original Enterprise, no bloody A, B, C, or D, to be able to transport hundreds of people off a Gorn ship within seconds of receiving a file written in Gorn while being in a radiation mess between 2 stars with relatively severe battle damage, and while the ship is currently making itself an artificial star. We've never seen an evacuation of that many people happen in that short of an amount of time under better conditions. But under these crazy conditions, the show lost my suspension of disbelief there completely and totally. As part of that, I have a further dislike for La'an suddenly being able to read Gorn without some kind of translator. I know she's taken a particular interest in the Gorn because of what happened to her and her family, but I just don't buy that she knows the written Gorn language. And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as super critical of this episode we've waited ages for, but my final award is another dislike for Ortega's seemingly dying words being, I am Erica Ortegas, I fly the ship. I really want to give this 10 dislikes. If this had just been said once in the past season, it would be a funny oddity that we get to banter back and forth in the Trek circles. Said again like this, it takes one of my favorite characters and just makes her feel unintelligent. If they had killed her off there, I would give this 100 dislikes. I hated it so much. And that's it. The Gorn are in hibernation, for now, and the Enterprise lips back to Starbase 1 for a 3-month refit. At first, I questioned releasing 2 episodes of a 10-episode season while we're coming up on another potential Trek drought, but after this one, I'm glad they did, because I like the next one quite a bit more, and I'll get a separate video out on Wedding Bell Blues soon. I have real problems with both parts of Hegemony, even though I really do like Strange New Worlds as a show. And I know for some, they don't like the zanier stuff the show tries to do, but I'm genuinely here for that. This was just an okay, lower middle of the road, long episode in the grand scheme of 900 episodes of Trek. It's serviceable, and I like its introduction of Scotty. But there's a lot left to be desired also. Which is why, in my overall rough ranking versus the rest of Star Trek, I give this one an initial range of somewhere between 475 and 425. A group of other Trek YouTubers and I will be diving much deeper into these 2 episodes in a live stream where you can come chat with us this Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern on our podcast buffer time here on this channel. I'll be back with you soon with all the likes and dislikes of Wedding Bell Blues. Until then, don't melt in the gamma rays of an artificial star.